Good afternoon. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. Before I continue with my remarks, I want to make a few introductions. First, your panel. On my far left, Mr. Dominic Gully. On my immediate left, Ms. Laura Alderson. On my near right, Ms. Natalia Popovic. On my far right, Ms. Sophia Ruddick. And at the far left end of this desk is our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, Barbara Bartosik. And in front of the panel and at the far right-hand end of this desk is Barbara's support staff. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances. Oh, and I'm Donald Taylor, I'm your chair. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone, and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you're called on to speak. Those participating via video appearance will be temporarily upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During this time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time. At all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen or any other panelist controls during a video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect this instruction. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto local appeal body, TLAB, will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto local appeal body, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies, as those terms are defined in the Planning Act, are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. Our hearing procedure is that I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. So for this afternoon, we will begin with item number 14. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, Applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching the 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Also, please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and will make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we first call on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The applicant will be then taken into committee for a decision. First of all, I have a question first for the panel. Are there any declarations of interest for any items in this time slot? No, thank you. And the same question for staff. Any declarations of interest? Okay. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have you received any requests for deferral?
No, Mr. Chair.
That's a new world record.
I know.
And Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have any files to be closed from this agenda? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you for listening to that exceptionally well-read presentation, which I've read twice today. We will now proceed with our agenda. Item number 14, 590 Horner Avenue. This is an application for consent to sever and 2 minor variance applications, 1 application for each of the proposed parts. There are 3 variances for each of the proposed parts. We have, by way of file materials, we have Urban Forestry requesting refusal, or as an alternative for us to consider their conditions 1 and 2 dealing with private and public trees. We have revised applications for both the consent and the variances. We have 16 letters of opposition, 15 letters of support, and we have registered to speak an agent and 5 area residents, apparently 3 in person and 2 virtual. So we will start with inviting Alyssa Woods to make a presentation on these applications.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, members of committee, members of the public. My name is Alyssa Woods, and I'm here on behalf of the landowners representing the applications for consent to sever and minor variance for 590 Horner Avenue. These applications were previously approved on September 25th, 2025 by this committee, and it's our understanding that these approvals were nullified due to discrepancies in the hearing time that was indicated on the notice. So we're back here today with you to discuss these applications again and give the members of the public the opportunity to speak. Next slide, please. So this property is located on the north side of Horner Avenue, west of Brown's Line, and it currently contains 1 single detached dwelling unit and an accessory shed. As you can see on the screen, this lot is abnormally large as compared to the surrounding lots and is out of character from the rest of the neighborhood. The intent of the severance is to bring this lot into compliance with the lot fabric of the other properties. Next slide, please. These lands are designated neighborhoods in the City of Toronto official plan and zoned residential detached in the city's zoning bylaw, both of which permit everything from single detached dwelling units up to and including multiplex and fourplex as of right due to changes to the zoning bylaw. What we're proposing today is at the lowest intensity on the spectrum of what is permitted as of right on the site to introduce one additional residential detached dwelling unit beyond what exists today. Next slide, please. You can see the site plan on the screen. We're proposing 2 new residential single detached lots, each 2 stories in height with a 2-car garage and a driveway. Approximately 160 square meters of living space per dwelling unit, which is in keeping with the same size as what exists in the neighborhood today. There are 6 trees that are proposed to be removed on site. An arborist report and 2 tree preservation plans have been prepared to address the conditions of these trees, and notes that 3 trees to be removed are in poor condition and 3 are in fair condition. I note that any future removal of these trees is not being decided by committee today, and any removal will need to undergo the city's tree removal application process, which is governed by the city's forestry department by highly skilled arborists. Next slide, please. On the screen, you can see the 2 resultant lots following the severance, both of which are 443 square meters in size with approximately 12.19 meters of frontage on Horner Avenue. This is consistent and in keeping with the general neighborhood character, which I will speak to again in a moment. Next slide, please. The variances are outlined on the screen. We're seeking minor reductions in both the lot area and frontage, and a minor increase in the main wall height of the building, although no increase is sought to the overall building height. Next slide, please. Our analysis of the 4 tests of the minor variance is on the screen. These variances maintain the general intent and purpose of both the city's official plan and zoning bylaw as they implement residential uses on lands intended for residential purposes. The variances are desirable as they represent an appropriate use of the land, facilitating the creation of 2 residential lots that complement and are compatible with the general context, and they are minor in nature. Next slide, please. As I mentioned throughout this presentation, the proposed severance of the property will bring this parcel into alignment with the prevailing lot fabric in the area. As you can see on the screen, there are several lots in close proximity to these with narrower frontages and smaller lot areas, including average lot frontages of 12.2 meters on the south side of Horner Avenue, 12 meters on the north side of Horner Avenue. The committee here has approved several surrounding applications for severances and minor variances that are very similar to the one before you today. Next slide, please. Our team has reviewed the comments and concerns that we've seen from the public, and I'd like to take a moment to address the 2 overarching themes from those comment letters. The first one is that some public comments inferred that the home has heritage value. We've confirmed that this is neither a heritage building nor within a heritage conservation district. The next prevailing topic was the removal of the trees. Again, I'd like to clarify that the purpose of these applications is not to remove the trees, it's to request the permission of lot sizes that would reinforce the existing lot pattern of the neighborhood. Any and all tree removals will be regulated through the city's tree removal process, which is run by skilled urban forestry staff. I also want to note that through the thoughtful design of this property, we have managed to preserve 11 trees on the site, all in good and fair condition. Further, we have worked to reduce the number of trees that need to be removed on site from 7 to 6 since the committee last saw and approved this same application. If the committee approves this application today, the owner will still need to go through an application process to remove those trees. There are conditions associated with tree removal permits, and forestry will not issue a permit if it's not appropriate. I'd like to thank the committee and the public for your time this afternoon. I'll be available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Woods. Panel, any questions or comments?
Chair, I just have one fairly straightforward question. The variances that you're requesting are based on the net land area left over after the widening. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, if you go back to the severance slide, there's part 3, which is the widening of Horner Avenue as requested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Popper.
Madam Agent, can you comment on any conversations or discussions with Urban Forestry? In particular, I note on October 27th, 2025, the memo discusses an opportunity to preserve existing trees and maintain the planting areas. Has any discussion or consideration been given between your client and Urban Forestry?
There has not been any direct conversation, although I will note, if we can just flip to the tree preservation plan, which is at the end of the slide deck, Urban Forestry's main concern was the one city-owned tree, which is located within the boulevard. And we're not proposing the removal of that tree. We're proposing a permit to injure that tree. And the proposal to injure that tree is actually associated with the removal of the existing driveway. It has nothing to do with the construction of 2 new dwelling units. And that same injury would occur if that driveway were to be repaved, re-graveled as it deteriorated over time. So the injury to that one city tree is not a reflection of the building of these units.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ben? Okay, thank you, Ms. Woods.
Thank you.
We're now going to start going through our list of interested parties, starting with those in person. And my notes tell me that Eden Miller is here to speak to this application.
So, Mr. Chair, before that, we also have a few late additions. We have another 3 in person that want to speak.
Okay. But we'll go through the registered ones first. Yes, come on up.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. My name is Eden Miller, and I am the neighbor. As you can see here, thank you very much for pulling it up. This is my beautiful home, and I want to be very clear. If we are to be neighbors, I want to be welcoming, but please respect the space. What I really want to bring to your attention is what these trees, what they've done for our family. These trees have hosted my best friend's baby shower and granted a shelter. They're where I hang my daughter's swing. The canopy above our home is something that really brought us to the neighborhood. And I just want to clarify as well, there are 16 letters of objections, but within those are multiple PDFs that I believe range over 100. 100 is actually probably around the age of these trees. As you can see here, one of the things I really want to bring into your attention is that they're beautiful, and they're actually within the arborist report, it's really skewed. They took photos during the winter time, and I don't know a tree that blooms during that time. I'd like to continue to show you, sorry. The photographs on the arborist report, however, are outdated and misleading. When we installed a new fence, we worked closely with our neighbor, Shirley, at the time, to ensure no trees were harmed. As a gesture for Shirley's patience during the construction, we finished her side of the fence as well, no charge. We purposely made sure that our fence did not disturb any trees or any roots. I'd like to also clarify that a number of these trees overhang our property, and many of the bases of them, as I know that Jackie will go over later, actually say that they are co-owned by our property and would require our approval. What I would really like to say to you all is that I'd like to work together in welcoming more people to this neighborhood, but I would really love to do so in a way that can preserve what makes this neighborhood so important. Alderwood is derived from the First Nations word Etobicoke, meaning the place where the alders grow. That's what makes our neighborhood so beautiful and unique. We're in the city of Toronto. Look outside, look how gorgeous it is. Please help us preserve our city. Please help us keep what makes it so unique. I look forward to hearing from everybody in our neighborhood. Once again, we want to welcome more, but please do everything you can to preserve this canopy and what makes our neighborhood so important and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Just before you go, there may be some questions or comments for you. I don't know.
Sure, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Ms. Miller. I can see how passionate and how committed you are to your neighborhood, your community, and your beautiful home. I just wanted to ask you, you are aware of the fact that the city has a very vigorously involved forestry department. That forestry department is has personnel with great expertise, because one of the most important things in Toronto is to try to keep that tree canopy. Do you have faith in the cities, in our cities, forestry department to review these applications and ensure that trees that need to be protected will be protected.
That was well done.
I'm on,
Yeah.
I'm also,
yeah.
I live in a community where it's totally treed. The tree canopies are amazing. Even now, today, the colors are just amazing. And I don't want to see anybody disturbing any trees that need to be, that are healthy and need to be retained. Do you have faith in our forestry department, the city's forestry department?
I have faith that they will execute what is asked of them. As in, if the property needs to be severed, and they have to be, I understand that, let's say if you remove a tree, the forestry department also dictates that you plant a number of trees. If that's part of their instruction, then they'll go through with what they need to do to ensure that they sever the lot.
I've served on committees of adjustment since 2009, on and off. And as a former employee of the city for 35 years, I can tell you that the department doesn't do what anybody tells them to do. They're passionate about the work that they do. Now, I'm not supposed to be speaking like that. My question was whether indeed you have faith in them, and I hope you do. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope so. I really hope so. That's the best I can do, right? Thanks.
Anything else, panel?
I just want to comment that the October 27th forestry memo, their first recommendation is for the refusal of this application, for your information, from forestry. Their first recommendation is the refusal of this application.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, you can take your seat now, and thank you very much, Ms. Miller. The next registered in-person speaker is Susan Eckel. Who lives across the street from Eden Miller.
Yes.
A little bit north.
Before my time ticks, I was going to ask if someone can count the letters, please, because there is a lot of people in our community that were very concerned, and we have over 100 letters. I want to make sure it's documented. If you can go, and I know I double checked there on the site, please.
So there are a number of individual letters, and then there are 105, I counted, form letters in opposition. So yes, there's
Yes.
over 100.
So what's the total?
I didn't count the individual letters, but there's over 100 form letters.
Okay,
So
good.
well over 100.
Plus the other ones.
Yep.
There's 20 or something of the other ones.
Yep.
Some odd, and plus the 100 form notes. Because usually at the beginning of the meeting, they said 16 or something. I was like, what? No. Yes, okay, over 100. Okay, great.
Start with your name and address.
Oh, sorry. My name is Susan Eckel, and I live at 4 West Head Road.
Okay,
Okay?
talk to us.
Okay. First, I want to thank the Alderwood community for their concern about what is proposed for 590 Horner Avenue. It was amazing how it spread, and we have so many letters of objection. This is a neighborhood that came together. I also want to thank the Committee of Adjustment for listening to our concerns. The City of Toronto Official Plan, Section 3.4, the Natural Environment Policy 1D. This section specifically about policies that relate to the protection, preservation, and enhancement of trees. To support strong communities, for example, Alderwood, a competitive economy, high quality of life, public and private city building activities, changes to the built environment, including public works, will be environmentally friendly and based on, D says, preserving and enhancing the urban forest, providing suitable growing environments for trees, and increasing the tree canopy coverage and diversity, especially of long-lived trees and large shade trees. This is also a goal of Forestry Department because the percentage of tree canopy for mature trees is a much lower percentage than it should be. It's also responsible for regulating the injury and destruction of trees. The urban forestry evaluation of 590 Horner and the current developer's application, the urban forestry is of the opinion that the application to sever the property does not align with the official policy of section 3.4.1D. Maintaining the property at 590 Horner Avenue as one residential lot would allow for appropriate space for the construction of the new dwelling while providing the opportunity to preserve existing trees and maintain viable planting space. The urban forestry staff have reviewed the application again in October and recommends that the Committee of Adjustment panel refuse to consent the application number B0021/25EYK to sever the property into two undersized lots. This is a quote, "As outlined, approval of the requested consent to sever would result in the construction of two new dwellings that will require the removal of 7 trees and intolerable injury to 2 mature protected trees, including 3 trees in healthy condition and 6 trees in poor condition, 3 of which are located on the shared property line with 588 Horner Avenue." In the 11-page letter to the city by KLM Planning Partners, they talk about the split lots near 590 Horner in the previous presentation. And one of the things I noticed was that none of the lots had a large number of trees to begin with. I think the maximum was 3 mature trees. There's 13 mature trees on this property that we're talking about today. Also, under the 4 tests for minor variance, the developer states that the proposed variances are in keeping with Toronto's official plan for neighborhoods, of which Alderwood has been designated one. It is not. The City of Toronto official plan, 4.1.5, is development in established neighborhoods will respect and reinforce the existing physical character of each geographic neighborhood, including, in particular, continuation of special landscape that contribute to the unique physical character of the geographic neighborhood. Yep. This developer chose to buy a property with a lot of mature trees. Thought they could remove them and build what they want. They had an opportunity to design environmentally friendly homes with minimal impact on trees, but chose not to do that even when they had a second chance. In summary, our neighborhood, Alderwood, is named after trees. The amount of mature trees in our neighborhood defines our community. This is our special landscape. Toronto's official plan states that any development in the neighborhood will respect this. Also, the proposed development with a split lot does not meet OP 3.4.1D or 4.1.5. This means that the developer has not met the requirements of the official plan of the City of Toronto for developing 590 Horner. The developer's plan to kill or injure 13 mature trees is unacceptable to our community. This is our special landscape. This means that the variance for splitting the lot that results in this does not meet the requirements of development in the official neighborhood of Alderwood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions or comments for Ms. Eckel?
Chair, I have a question.
Yep.
Again, thank you so much for coming out here this afternoon and expressing your views personally. And I hear you about the tree canopy, and I hear you about protection of that very important aspect of planning and building the city. I wanted to ask you, in terms of the variances that are being requested, this panel reviews variances, the building standards that an applicant is applying for to have relief from. The 3 variances on each of the 2 parcels that would be created if this severance were to be allowed. How do you feel about the 3 variances? Do you feel they are minor or not? Do you know what they are?
It's width and height, I believe it's 2. One is for severance of the lot. Sorry, your question is if I believe they're important?
No, they are very important. I'm asking if you know what variances they're asking from.
Yes.
From the zoning bylaw.
Yes.
There are 3 variances being requested for each of the 2
what
lots
they're for.
that would be created.
Yes.
Are you aware of the variances that they're requesting?
Yes.
That they're, okay, and how do you feel about those variances?
I'm,
The frontage,
yep.
the lot area, and the main wall height? Are they really far from what the zoning bylaw requires?
Me personally, I mean, and it's not my job, like I'm not a professional, right? So I would say to me, the one that matters the most to me is the variance regarding the splitting the lot, because when you have two homes that are quite large, you're going to impact the trees that are on the lot more than if you didn't split the lot. If you kept, say, one home and you had a higher wall height and slightly larger than the current footprint, they wouldn't impact the trees as much. Is what you're getting at?
Do you think this lot in this area of Alderwood is generally larger than any of the other lots in the area?
Is it generally
would
larger?
Would you not agree
Yes.
that it is a larger lot than any others in the area?
Yeah, there's one just 3 houses down from me. It's a 50-foot lot.
They are, so this one is generally a large
It's
lot.
generally a large lot, yes.
Yeah, and primarily, what would be the lot sizes there? You're in the neighborhood, you live there.
I don't know, what's ours, do you know?
Do you have any idea what the lot
What is ours?
frontage would be? 25 feet? Yeah. 45 feet? 45. Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
Well, actually, before you step away,
Yep.
it's not a question really so much as you do realize that if the developer wanted to build a multiplex on this site, he would be allowed to build a multiplex on this site.
Yes. A multiplex, if I'm
be
thinking
more
if it's
desirable to
layered,
you.
it actually might have less impact
Yeah.
than building two separate large buildings. Yes.
That point is well taken, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have Judir McDowell. Oh, Judith. Sorry,
It's-
there's a typo on my list here.
Yeah, it's Judith. Yeah,
Judith, that makes
McDowell.
more
Yeah.
sense, yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Judith McDowell at 2 West Head Road. I'd have to thank Sue. She did a great job of running through all the different points. I just wish to make 2 points this morning or this afternoon. First of all, the City of Toronto's main goal is to increase the urban forest canopy to cover 40% by, 2050. And the city's plan involves a combination of planting new trees, protecting existing trees, and promoting community stewardship of these trees. So we have the opportunity and the responsibility today to protect and retain the trees that are already on this lot. And we've already covered how many trees there are, and they are all very mature trees. So in doing so, we would support the city's long-term goals. The second is the city has a, it's called Housing TO 2020 to 2030 Action Plan. And I want to quote directly from this plan, and I'm sure you're all very familiar with it, but not everybody in the room would be. So it is the policy of the City of Toronto that fair access to a full range of housing is fundamental to strengthening Toronto's economy and its environmental efforts and the health and social well-being of its residents and communities. So what they're saying here is that they want a full range of housing. So what is suggested by splitting the lot is that we're going to end up with 2 lots and 2 very large houses, which we have quite a few of those in our neighborhood. It would be, yes, in keeping with the neighborhood. It would also require taking down all the trees. But my suggestion is, and it already has been pointed out, that a multiplex would be suitable for that location. It could be built on the existing footprint of the home, and then it's a win-win. We retain the trees, but we also provide the housing as required. But the housing would be different from what we have in our neighborhood. It would be perhaps rental housing, which would be greatly desired by a young couple starting out in our neighborhood, or even seniors who wish to move out of their homes but stay in the neighborhood. Or you could even make them condominiums. And it would be lovely to be able to purchase a condominium in an existing residential neighborhood surrounded by all these beautiful trees, a dozen trees. So this would be an option for the developer that I don't know that has been spoken about, but it would protect our trees. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of our neighborhood today.
Thank you very much.
Any questions?
Panel, any questions or comments for Ms. McDowell?
Chair, I'm just trying to educate myself, and I'm so happy to hear everyone. But Judith, I just wanted to ask you, you would prefer to see something different than the housing form that's there today?
I wouldn't mind that. We have a lot of homes in our neighborhood that are being torn down and having larger homes built. So there is a lot of single-family homes being built, being renovated, or being enlarged. This would be another option to provide a flexibility for people in the neighborhood to have different options to live.
And you think this is a good location? Like if I'm living in this, you're living in the neighborhood.
Oh, I'm almost staring at
More
this.
desirous of having two houses that are very similar to the urban build form today than something that's out of character?
Do we want to just keep doing the same thing? Or do we want to try something different?
Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McDowell. And Adam, you said there's someone else in the hearing room that wants to speak? Or Timothy?
Yeah, there's a few of them. So we'll start with John McDonald.
Good afternoon. My name is John Paul McDonald, JP. I live at 588 Horner, which is beside this property in question. When I saw the drawings and the trees that divide our properties and what they wanted to remove or damage, I grew up in this house. I was born in this house. Those trees grew with me. They're growing with my kids. We enjoy the shade. Big leaves every fall right now, getting to clean them up. And I don't want to see any damage or lose any of them. That's all I have to say. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions?
I'm sorry, Chair. John, thank you for coming out here and telling us. Just in your view, as a resident, having lived there all the time, all your life, do the trees look healthy to you?
Up until the later years, for Shirley, we would have arborists in every year to maintain them. Once she got sicker and unable to do that, they fell a little bit, but they seem healthy.
Yeah, and would you have trust in our city's forestry department to make good determination? Because our duty here is to take that into consideration. Absolutely, forestry, because it's such an important aspect of our city. But also we have a task of looking at the fact that they're asking for some variances. So we also have to rule on those variances whether or not they meet the test. So we're caught here with a very complex.
I've had friends that work very high in the arborist for the city of Toronto. Okay. And I've heard, I don't know firsthand, but I've heard sometimes their hands are tied as well. So I don't know if I do have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we have another speaker in the hearing room?
Yep, so we have two more. Edry Walker. Edward? Yeah.
Good afternoon. Yes, we are here as a team. My name is Edry Walker Panic, and this is my sister Robin Brown. And we are here on more of an emotional
And what's your
appeal.
addresses, please?
My address is 63 Mitcham Drive, and my sister's address is 14 Nielsen Road.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, carry on.
So we are here appealing on the emotional level. We grew up in that house. We are 2 of 7 children that were raised in that house. And I must say, what a novel and unique experience that was. When people found out where we lived, one of the first responses was always, "You live in the big old farmhouse? That's awesome." And always the next question was, "Is it haunted?" We've heard it's haunted. But I'd like to appeal for the house to stay. It is unique. It's a big house. Yes, it's on a big piece of land. It's no bigger than the house, like the house needed to be in a big patch of land when it was built. Those are farmhouses. There's not many of them left. In Alderwood, we did have the O'Connor house, Vaudeville sisters, the O'Connors. That house was torn down. We had the Horner house on Beta Street, Franklin Horner, torn down. There's not many of these heritage homes left. And I know it is an enigma. We've tried very hard to find provenance with the house, and we've never been able to find any. But it was our childhood home. And the trees. I'm advocating for the trees as well. I'm sorry I didn't submit these online, but I have pictures from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s.
The same trees.
The same trees. The trees are standing. Toronto wants 40% tree capacity coverage. Why touch these trees when it's not necessary? It's a gateway to the South Valley Ravine. It's homes to animals. The leaf piles we used to rake when we were children.
We, as I said, my sister and I both grew up. She was born there. I was about 5 when we moved there. When my parents bought that place, they didn't take down any trees. There was there was a cedar border, and they did take that down by the sidewalk. But they left it as is. They upgraded the house because there was only a wood furnace. Electrical they upgraded because the house caught on fire one time with the old. We have wonderful memories. Personally, I would love to see the place stay as is, but I understand that there's going to be changes, but I would like to see the property remain as it is.
Ironically, our mother, this has been going on for 40 years. My mother monthly would get phone calls from real estate agents and developers. Here's $100,000 cash to buy it lock, stock, and barrel. And her response was the same every single time. No, you're going to split the lot, build 2 houses. It's all about making money instead of respecting what is there. Our roots run deep in the Alderwood community. We grew up there. I babysat John McDonald and his sister, and she babysat me. So, do I have faith in the forestry department of the city? I do, but I don't always have the most faith in developers when oak trees that are in excess of 100 years old. Oak is a very valuable wood, and I don't think these trees would come down and be ground up into into mulch. That's all I can say. We are appealing for the house and the trees and the sanctity of the neighborhood because it is unique, and unique is okay, and old is okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to say anything more?
Panel, any questions or comments?
Sure, I have a question.
Of course.
Do you know of any historical review been done of the home to have a heritage designation?
Well, like I said, it's an enigma. We've done a lot of research. My husband is a huge history buff with the neighborhood, we have never been able to find any provenance with the history of this house.
Other than
Other than,
the main home that.
Sorry, ma'am, can you use the microphone?
Oh, the main home that's on Aintree was the main estate for this farmland. And apparently, I still call it our house, is the gardener's house. And there was another white house down the street. That was I don't know what that was
But there's no
labeled
current
as.
designation.
No.
Thank
no,
you.
Unfortunately
Thank you
not.
for coming in.
unfortunately not, but thank you for your time. Oh, do you have a pen?
Okay, do we have any other speakers in the hearing room?
We have some online now.
And do we have any, we have 2 virtual folks listed?
Yep, so we have 2 who registered, and we had one in the late edition. They're online currently as well.
Okay, so we'll firstly call on Greg Smith. Mr. Smith?
Good afternoon. Are you able to hear me? Perfect.
Could be better, but,
Is that any better now?
oh, that's much better.
Okay, perfect. My name's Greg Smith. I live at 117 Burlingame Road, which is across the street from 590 Horner Avenue. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm here to voice my strong opposition for the severance and redevelopment application for 590 Horner Avenue. A lot of the conversation and discussion has been focused on the trees and the proposed destruction or injury of the trees. It's really difficult to bifurcate this application from the trees on the property. The severance of the lot at 590 Horner Avenue will result in the creation of 2 unusable building lots due to the size and positioning of the protected trees on each remaining lot. If the lot is allowed to be severed, they will put the city and the forestry department in a position where they will be forced to allow the removal of the trees, or else the landowner will be left with 2 undevelopable lots. Leaving it as a single lot gives ample room for development while we can protect and preserve the aged trees. The destruction of 7 mature trees and the injury of 5 is a contravention of Toronto's private tree protection bylaw, and it's in conflict with Section 3.4 of Toronto's official plan, which emphasizes the protection of the natural environment and urban forest. Quite clearly, this is not a desirable use or appropriate use of the land, as is required under Section 45 of the Planning Act. Toronto Forestry has already gone on record recommending a refusal of this building application, or the severance application rather, because of the impact to the trees on the lot. My objection is not to the development of the property. If left unsevered, the lot at 590 Horner Avenue contains ample room for redevelopment in a variety of forms, conforming with Toronto's private tree protection bylaw and remaining aligned with the existing character of the neighborhood. There is a significant amount of development happening in Alderwood, and when done responsibly and when done respectfully, it's welcomed by the neighbor. We can see countless construction projects that have happened while protecting and preserving the unique tree canopy in the Alderwood neighborhood. The arborist report submitted with the application fell well short of the standards one would expect to see through an independent assessment. The first version of the report referenced a different address than 590 Horner Avenue and was inconsistent between the written report, the photographs, and the site plan as to which trees were going to be removed, which trees were going to be injured. The second revised report still contains errors that makes it unclear what exactly the builder's plans are with respect to removal of the trees. In particular, the east lot identifies in various areas that it's going to protect tree number 2 and injure tree number 2, but it doesn't show a tree number 2 anywhere on the site plan map. On the west parcel of land, tree number 3 is really difficult to determine the status. The written table says it's going to be injured, the photograph says it's going to be removed, and the site plan references an injury. This is probably why Urban Forestry has recommended the refusal of the application. With my letter to the committee, I submitted several street-level photographs of the property just to show the size and impact of the tree canopy. You can see that these trees extend into an east-west forest running in behind the homes, where there's been successful development throughout the neighborhood that has preserved and protected the trees that are on these lots. The aerial image will show that this tree canopy has been protected. If we could just scroll through any of these photos as I'm speaking, that's fine. Urban Forestry recommended the denial of this application. It's very clear from our conversation today that the neighborhood opposition is very strong and very vocal. And I respectfully urge the committee to deny this application and recognize that applications that threaten mature trees, lack adequate environmental documentation, and fail to respect the neighborhood character should not be approved. Thank you again for your time and your consideration today.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Panel, any questions or comments for Mr. Smith? So I think our final speaker is Jackie Connors. Am I right, Thomas?
Yep, so Jackie registered, and we have another person, Annie. So I'll start with Jackie, and then we'll go for the extra one after.
Ms. Connors?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, is it my turn?
If your name's Jackie Connors, it is. Hello?
Hi, is it my turn?
If your name's Jackie Connors, it is.
Yes, sorry, my computer died and I just scrambled to get back on my phone.
Okay. Can you
Okay.
give us your address, please?
35 West Head Road.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I can barely hear you. Okay, so a lot of the points I'm going to make are similar to what's already been made, but I'm just going to try to do this quickly.
Yeah, yes, if you could, please.
Concern
'cause
is, sorry?
If you could just kind of gloss over those without, I don't want to denigrate the impact of what you're trying to say here, but we have had a lot of repetition here.
Yeah,
So if you-
I know.
Okay, carry
I'm
on.
kind of one of the main people that kind of helped to organize this. So, so the concern is the proposal desirable or appropriate? Character of our neighborhood, lots of people have spoken to it. We love our trees. That's why we've moved into the neighborhood. According to Toronto's official plan, land use designations, development in established neighborhoods will respect and reinforce existing physical character of each geographic neighborhood, including continuation of special landscape that contribute to the physical character of the geography's neighborhood, and conservation of heritage buildings, structures, and landscapes. So I don't think that this plan does that. In regards to splitting the lot, all examples of splitting the lots that have been shown have been in the RM zone south of our area, which is the RD zone. So it's hard to compare apples to oranges. The owners purchased the lot knowing it was a single lot with a single house, and they imply in their presentation that the limitations of the lot are the main issue. There's no attempt to design around the current landscape. The possible splitting in the lot results in two undersized lots that I believe would not be a minor variance, with 11% decrease in frontage, 13.5% decrease in lot area, and a 47% increase in the floor space index. I don't think those are minor. In regards to the boundary trees, I didn't hear what JP said about his side, but I believe what I've heard in the past from him is that he's not happy with trees being impacted. They're boundary trees, and I think that's goes by Ontario law, that if the neighbors on either side, Eden and JP, don't agree with that, then it's really hard to move ahead with the existing plan. Two of the trees, I just want to also mention, two of the trees in there to be injured are basically the tree protection zone does go right up to the trunk, so it's actually, the number's not 6, it's higher, because they will not survive. And some of those trees are actually special trees that do not do well with root damage. In regards to the official plan, the environmental aspect, Toronto's forestry does not agree with splitting the lot, and splitting the lot does not align with official plan section 3.4. In regards to legal precedent, Toronto local appeal body, there was a finding down, I think it was on Lakeshore, it's in my presentation, Preserving the urban forest was not seriously addressed in the plan, which I feel is same with this. The character of the neighborhood environment was not addressed in that plan, which I think same here. And he indicated it cannot proceed without permission from boundary tree owners to remove or even injure boundary trees. So the same situation. And he also said, granting such permission may result in undue pressure for the destruction of the trees. I agree. I think that applies here too. So we're not opposed to new builds, and we're not opposed to multi-unit buildings. You know, if there's consideration, maybe a semi-detached or something down the middle, then you're not injuring all the trees around the border. We understand the trees down the middle are an issue, and likely won't be able to do anything about that. But we want to save as many as we can, and we think that their builder can build other plans to do that. We want to support the city and the environmental goals. We think that these are not minor variances. And just to note, there was 128 neighbor letters that had been voted to object. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Connors. Any questions or comments for Ms. Connors? No? Okay, we now re-invite Ms. Woods, who has 5
Oh,
minutes.
sorry, Mr. Chair. We have one more just last-minute registration. She's currently online. I'll connect her now.
And what her name is?
Annie.
Annie?
Yeah.
Does she have a surname?
Yes, Hora. Sorry, if I can't really pronounce it. Annie, can you do that for me?
Now, it's phonetical. It's pronounced Horodnik.
Okay.
Horodnik. Yeah. Okay. So again, like Jackie said, a lot of what I was going to say is now repetitive. So
We
I'll
need
try
your
to.
address, please.
Yes, ma'am. 8 Chelsea Drive.
Thank you.
So I'm around the corner to the east of 590 Horner. So we all know the summary of the changes to the site, which is a lot plans to be severed and 2 homes to be built in its place. Each new dwelling will include a main residence on the upper floors and a rental unit in the basement. Okay, some trees are intended to be removed for the purposes of building, as well the application indicates that some trees will be damaged. Okay, so my objection is 1 to the farmhouse, the historical farmhouse that I believe shouldn't be taken down in the first place to make room for cramming as many revenue generating rental properties as possible into a neighborhood where single family homes are the norm. You know, thinking about affordable housing, I perceive that these rental properties would not be considered affordable housing because the rental rates in Alderwood far exceed the affordable housing rates, which the lowest that someone could be approved for would be $1,100 a month. And there's no way that like a brand new build basement apartment in Alderwood would be $1,100. It would be definitely more than that. So it's not an argument for affordable housing, and clearly the builder doesn't seem to care about ancient trees, which Indigenous tribes who first lived here could have planted and felt they were sacred, and so do I. And the builder seems concerned more with profit and, again, putting as many revenue generating units with people and cars and adding a driveway as well. And I believe that this change to our neighborhood to the way it's been for decades is not welcome. An arborist that came and had to trim our tree for us, which was contracted by the city, Davy Tree, he estimated that those trees, just by looking at them, were 150 to 200-year-old trees. And whoever planted them definitely did so with the interest of future generations in mind. And that, you know, this would obviously be against that. What else did I say? Just so much is going on in our city about preserving the environment, combating climate change, and preserving clean air. Having done a renovation myself in this neighborhood in 2015 and speaking with other neighbors who are renovating right now, and one of them is my next door neighbor, we have all found that the removal of trees for the purposes of accommodating a building is not the reason that the city will allow trees to be destroyed. We have all built our homes around the trees. Anyone else who we've been asked to damage a tree has been denied. No one that I know has ever been allowed to remove any trees. And also the trees that have been requested in the past to be removed are far smaller and younger than the trees on the property 590 Horner. So I also sent along some photos, which, you know, now are repetitive, just to show the sizes of the trees that are being yeah, that's it. So just to see like how big they actually are. And that, you know, I know the fines for removing trees are $10,000 per tree, and then it would be determined by forestry how many new trees would have to be planted to replace ones that have been cut down. Well, in this case, replacing one mature tree with, say, even 3 or 4 young trees, you lose the canopy, you lose the shade, you lose the homes for animals, you lose the CO2, you know, absorption that the trees create, providing oxygen. So I'm just, again, another person saying that I object to this. And I agreed with Greg. I loved your point, Greg, in your letter that you said that the splitting of the lot can't happen if the trees are not removed. So therefore, these two things go hand in hand. Although I'm not particularly opposed to splitting a lot and putting 2 homes, it's been done elsewhere here and it doesn't look bad. It's fine. However, on this particular property, in order to achieve that, it seems that these trees are going to have to be damaged or destroyed completely. And I've also, my question that I have is, what does damaged mean? Does that mean that the tree will be dead? And if so, in how long? So how is that really any different than cutting down the tree? So in conclusion, I just hope that you know, the city goes with the recommendation of forestry, all the people here that are objecting to this, you know, forestry saying that this should be denied, 0 trees should be cut down, 0 trees should be removed, and clearly that will probably lead to the
Okay, you've just cut out, but you're out of time anyway. Did you have anything else you wanted to say in closing? Okay, I guess we've lost her. So I'm not going to ask you if you have any questions or comments. I'm going to invite Ms. Woods up to rebut the comments that have been made by 8 people. And you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, committee, and thank you, members of the public. While the tree preservation plan that was on the screen doesn't accurately reflect the trees that are going to be removed, I did prepare a little bit of a markup showing the trees that are going to be removed, and I'm sorry, it is a little bit of a distance. I'm happy to pass them along, but
Yeah, no, sorry, we really can't consider that.
Okay, that's okay. My point is that despite what everyone is saying, if the current house was to be removed and replaced, those same trees would need to come down. Those trees coming down are not as a result of the severance of the lot and the construction of 2 new houses. All of the trees that are coming down are in the middle of the site, and the existing house is within 5 of 6 tree protection zones. So if that tree or if that house were to be demolished and a new house were to be built at the exact same footprint as the existing house, 5 of 6 trees that we're proposing today would need to come down. I would also like to say that forestry is recommending conditions of approval. So if this severance is approved today, it comes with conditions, and the conditions of approval need to be satisfied or the severance is not valid. So if we cannot get those tree removal permits approved, the severance is no longer. It's a condition of approval. So committee's decision today is to decide whether the severance of the lot and the 3 variances that we're seeking, which are consistent with what has been done in the neighborhood, as many of the members of the public have acknowledged, that is what is to be made a decision today. With that, I leave it to the committee, and I'm happy to answer any further questions, so thank you.
Okay, I'm going to kick off with a couple of questions that are key to my own deliberations on this. Can you tell us, I know you may not know exactly, you know the exact square footage of the homes you're proposing to build. How would they compare, say, to number 1, your immediate neighbor to the west, and 588, the neighbor to your east?
I don't know that information offhand. However, these are 2-story dwellings that we're proposing. The other houses in the area are 2-story dwellings as well. It is hard to determine the exact footprint of those homes because we don't have the plans.
What's the floor space index for what you're proposing?
The floor space index we're not seeking to increase.
No, I know, but what does this bylaw allow?
I don't have that information offhand. It is definitely included in our letter.
It's bylaw compliant.
Pardon? 40% lot coverage, and it's bylaw compliant. We're not coming anywhere close to the coverage.
I realize that. Now, my last question is, if your client were to, in lieu of proceeding on this plan, decided to build one house, can you just maybe do the quick math if you can and tell me, us, how large that single building would be without any required variances? In other words, you wouldn't be here. You could get a building permit.
We could be here for a building permit for a fourplex multiplex today.
And what size would it be?
It could be
Within side yards, rear yard, front yard, height, the whole thing?
400 square meters. We're proposing 2 houses that are 160 square meters, 2 stories. We'd be permitted up to 4 stories as of right.
Okay. And I was also going to ask, but you already answered it. What you're proposing has no impact on tree preservation relative to just rebuilding this entire property.
That's correct. The house could be demolished and rebuilt at the exact same footprint. Those same trees would need to come down. The house is within the tree protection zone of 5 of those trees, and the other one is the driveway.
Thank you. Panel, any other questions or comments?
Sure, I have a couple. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
Buddy, I think the residents are all have galvanized, and they're really interested in their community and what happens in the community, and this is why we have public hearings like this. And for us, it's extremely difficult to deal with an application like this one, and I'll explain why later. But I wanted to ask, obviously your client or the landowner is willing to take a risk on the issue of leaving the conditions to be adhered to urban forestry. He's willing to take that risk. Is that correct?
That's correct.
As far as the 2 proposed structures, okay, on 2 separate lots, if the consent was to be granted, are there any setback, front yard or rear yard setback variances that you're requiring?
No, we're completely in compliance with all required setbacks, landscape
yards?
coverage,
Side yard?
side yards compliant,
Height?
compliant, under height, about 3 meters under permitted height.
Okay. And as far as the lot configurations is concerned in the area, the configuration does meet the general lot configuration. That may be the wrong word. Yeah, the prevailing lot size and dimensions is in that area, what it is that you're proposing. The lot frontage, you require 13.5 and you're proposing 12.19. So that's a variance that you're requiring.
That's correct. And I do want to be clear that that is the parent zoning bylaw requirement of 13.5. If you can go back to my presentation, there are very, very few lots in the Elderwood neighborhood that have lot frontages of 13.5. I mentioned in my presentation notes on the north side of Alderwood, the average lot frontage is 12.0 meters. So we would be larger than the average lot frontage. And on the south side, it's 12.19, which is exactly what we're proposing.
Okay. And lot area, the requirement would be around 510.
Correct.
Proposing 449, something like that.
443, which again, as shown on the diagram on the screen, is larger than a lot of the surrounding lot.
And as far as the main wall height, 7.2, and you're
7.5.
requesting 7.5 or 7.31?
Why?
7.31?
7.5 is what we're proposing. The bylaw is 7.3, so we're proposing a minor increase, and that's just reflective of the fact that this is a flat roofed home. It's not a pitched roof home.
7.4, okay.
Yeah. We're not touching the overall building height. Like I mentioned, we're about 3 meters under what would be permitted to build.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Ms. Ruddick.
Yeah, so your comment that building a new home on the property would require the removal of the same trees is inconsistent with the October 27th memo from Urban Forestry, which states, maintaining the property at 590 Horner Avenue as one residential lot would allow for appropriate space for the construction of a new dwelling while providing the opportunity to preserve existing trees and maintain viable planting space. That's the October 27th planning memo.
And I appreciate the planning memo, but when you look at the arborist report and the tree preservation plan, that's absolutely incorrect when you look at the tree protection zones. That house is within 5 of 6 tree protection zones.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? Ms. Popovic?
Mr. Chair, I have a question. I'm not sure if it should be addressed to Madam Agent or to Madam DST. And I heard comments about trees that were on either a property line or shared trees, and I saw that in some of the comments. Do we have guidance on how a tree that is shared between the neighbors and the subject property can be dealt with?
So trees on private property are protected whether they're on the subject site or on the adjacent site. They would still have to apply for a permit to injure, damage, or remove a tree, especially if it's on the border. Now, there were a lot of questions about having faith in urban forestry. Urban forestry has made a recommendation to refuse the applications because of the impacts on the trees. Should the committee approve the application, urban forestry has an opportunity to refuse those permits, but the applicant can appeal that. So it's not ultimately just in the hands of urban forestry. And I think that's where some of the neighbors had concerns about where that process may end up.
If I could have a follow-up question. So in the case of a tree that's either on the boundary or close to a boundary and is shared in some fashion, is it correct, I heard somewhere, that the neighbor would have to consent?
They would have input.
They would have
yes,
input.
because it's on their property.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chair, I just had a follow-up. My colleague Sophia brought an interesting point regarding the actual correspondence from forestry. So again, this is something that your client is prepared to take a risk on, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I think it's time for us to go into committee and perhaps have some more discussion amongst us, and then we can consider a motion. So I guess I'll kick off the discussion. How's that?
Sure.
Setting aside the tree issue, which I'll get to, just looking at this as a consent firstly, the lot sizes and areas are very compatible with this neighborhood, no question about it. I had a note to self here before I heard any evidence that this looks like, I've been in the severance business since 1974, okay? And one term I came up with when reviewing applications was natural severance. In other words, the proposed lots are like everything else in the neighborhood. I call this a natural severance. So that's the consent thought I have. The variances, there are only 3. In my opinion, they're very minor. Now the trees, very sensitive issue. However, if we accept the evidence of the agent, even if a new house was built on this exact footprint, 5 of these trees would be potentially injured or probably need to be removed. So I really don't think that this development offends the trees in and of itself, because as of right, you can obviously build on the footprint and you can likely build 4,500 square feet, which is another thing I think the neighbors need to consider in terms of the compatibility of what ends up in this property. If this applicant has a severance and 2 modest homes denied, he or she has the right to build a 4,500 square foot house. So I think you need to sort of think about the compatibility of that potential outcome when you're concerned, and rightly so, about the compatibility of what ends up happening to this property. So those are my thoughts.
Chair, I too want to maybe share some comments with my colleagues. I think a lot of us are struggling with this application, primarily because I believe we are as passionate as the community on protecting and augmenting that tree canopy that we so much desire in the city. And that's what we're struggling with. I don't think that we're struggling with the variances. I'm not struggling with the variances. That's my general comment. My specific comments, as far as the severance is concerned, obviously we don't require a plan of subdivision. This is the right forum for this application to come to. It is something that this committee is tasked with considering. And the severance, as far as I'm concerned, is very appropriate. And subject to the conditions of severance, I think this is something that I certainly believe is meets the test. There's no question to me that the lot configuration fits in with the existing lot characters in the area. I'm very familiar with Alderwood, and there's no question too that I'm almost as committed as the residents are, because I've lived practically all my life in Etobicoke. That's neither here nor there. So as far as the severance is concerned, I'm convinced that it's right. It's the right thing to do. Technically, it is the right thing to do as far as I'm concerned. With respect to the variances, there are only 3 variances: the lot frontage, the lot area, and the main wall height. And those 3 are all nominal in my view. Each individually and collectively, they meet the 4 tests. And I believe that I'm not incorrect in stating that we're struggling because we're passionate about the trees. But I feel that the applicant is the one who's risking on dealing with forestry. The city forestry department is committed to building our forest, the city within the park. That's what the city's committed to do, building a city within a park. That's the motto. And I have a lot of faith that they're going to come up with something that either helps the proponent or turns them down, but they're willing to take that risk.
Thank you, Mr. Gully. Ms. Popovic.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with some of the comments of my colleagues that we're struggling, and I think the struggle. I'm sorry. That we're struggling with this. It's a very complicated matter, and from my perspective, there's many layers, but 2 of the most important layers are: 1, to look at the microcosm of the minor variances as a standalone, but then there's a macrocosm, and if we pull out, we see that inextricably linked with the minor variances is the tree issue, and the tree issue clearly is of great concern. And the tree issue to me becomes greater and more important in terms of that balance when I read the urban forestry memo and the first position being denial. And when we consider the extent of engagement of the community in this file, and it's very good to hear from the community, and it's good to know how much interest and investment there is in this environment, in this property. That also tends to support the bigger picture, which is the concern with removing trees. And I think we can just take general notice of the environmental changes that are happening in this world and the extent to which trees are a benefit and ameliorate any neighborhood. So my struggle tends to be tipping towards the concern of the bigger picture that includes the trees. And if there were a building that was as of right being built, we wouldn't be here at all.
Right.
Those are my struggles.
Anything to say, Ms. Reddick?
I would just, I agree with your comments, and I would just add to that another factor is just the age of the trees. I mean, it's gonna take at least 2 of my lifetimes, if I'm lucky, to get trees that are that age again from the appearance of them. So yeah, I agree with your comments.
Last but not least.
Well, I'm torn for two reasons, really, because while I agree with some of my colleagues who have said that, you know, these variances are fairly minor, and it makes sense in terms of lot pattern, and, you know, it's a large lot, and it should, by all rights, I guess, be divided. So, yeah, sure. Then there's the house factor, which not many people have mentioned. But it's not a heritage home. It's not designated heritage, so, you know, it has no protection, really, except that it's much beloved in the community. And then there's the tree issue. So one of the tests of, you know, our committee is it desirable for the development of this property? And we have so many letters from the neighbors that says it's not desirable for them. So I'm leaning towards refusing this application.
Okay, so I think it's wrap-up time, and we're ready to hear a motion on the consent and the two minor variance applications. And whatever that motion is, I don't think we need a lengthy explanation. I think we made ourselves heard.
Mr. Chair, I will put my motion forward,
Okay.
and then we will see. On the basis of all of the information having been heard, on consideration and clear struggles that this committee is having with the complexity of the issue before us, for the reasons that I've stated in my comments, and on the basis of the 4 tests that we're obliged to review, and in consideration of the objections of urban forestry and of the community at large, I move to refuse.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. Is there a seconder for that motion to refuse?
There is a seconder. That would be me.
Thank you, Ms. Alderson. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion to refuse carries by vote of 3-2. Thank everyone for your participation. It was certainly a difficult one. Is anyone in need of a break?
I'm in need of a drink.
You're in need of a drink. Are we in need of a break?
I could use a little stretch, yeah.
Okay, so maybe, well, let's make it 10. Wait a minute, we'll do it round numbers.
Thank you
2:40.
so very much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
2:40.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, okay. 12 minutes. 11 minutes.
Was that an hour and a half?
You what?
An hour and a half.
You said 45 minutes.
That was an hour and a half.
Yeah, 2:40.
Say hi to your mom. Where do you go?
hour and a half. we were made surety before, and then he broke, conditions at that time. And our lawyer at that time, so I don't know what she said, but the answer is no, we can't be sure. Okay, well, the answer is no, we cannot and will not be sure. Yeah. Yeah, and my wife and I have already discussed that, we're not prepared to do that. Oh, yeah. So what legal protection is it hard to allow to go through? Yeah, okay. So he has to decide whether to apply for bail or not. But he will be told to get out on bail, he has a surety, and then it's not gonna be. Yep. Okay. So you'll go over all that with him. Yep, yep. Okay, thank you, everyone, for allowing us to take a little break. We'll proceed on our agenda now with item 15, 21, 23, 25, and 31 Windsor Street, 95 Portland Street, and 18 Buckingham Street. This is a consent application, no minor variances. Community planning is okay. We have development engineering and transportation review conditions and a Metrolinx advisory. Our agent is Samantha Lampert.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, members. Good morning. It's not morning anymore. Oh my goodness.
No.
Afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of committee and
Yeah,
Mr. Chair.
I failed to mention that we also have a registered speaker. So I think a presentation from you would be helpful to him and us.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. So as you would have seen in the application, the purpose of the application is to sever off 2 parcels of the subject lands and to create various easements related to access, maintenance, and crane swing operations. So by way of background, in May of this year, City Council approved development applications for the subject lands. And thank you very much for putting up this map. So what's shown on parts 3 and 4, as well as a site to the south known as 60 Newcastle Street, which is not part of this application because we don't own the lands yet, and I'll get to that in a minute, will be 2 mixed-use towers of 36 and 42 stories. So parts 3, 4, part 1, which if you go up, that will be for a park conveyance that was required as a condition of development approval. Part 5, which is just to the east. It's a little sliver there. Part 6, which is right there. Thank you for moving the cursor. And part 8. Part 8 is, oh, this looks like it's an older version of the.
Christy Brad, right?
It's there, yes. Part 8 is also part of the retained lands. So parts 6 and 8, just so that the committee is aware, are being retained, but will have easements for access to parts 2 and part 7 as well. So those are the retained lands. On part 2, which is hatched in the blue lines, City Council approved a 7-story transitional housing facility, which will be owned and operated by the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and I'll refer to them as the SSVP throughout this presentation. SSVP currently owns and operates the Alyssa House at 60 Newcastle Street. So essentially, there's going to be a land swap if the severance application is approved. SSVP will transfer 16 Newcastle to Dia Des, and that makes up the development application lands. And part 2 will be transferred to SSVP. And the Alyssa House and what will ultimately be on part 2 will be a transitional shelter for women and their children who are in need or in crisis. Now, part 7, which is hatched in yellow here, will be a 14-story cooperative housing building. So our client has been fairly deep in discussions with the Cooperative Housing Federation of Toronto, CHFT, and the purpose of this request to sever off Part 7 is to finalize the collaboration with CHFT and to develop this cooperative housing. As I mentioned, in addition to severing off parts 2 and part 7 from the subject lands, we're also requesting that the committee approve several easements relating to access maintenance, crane swing operation, to allow for construction of all the proposed buildings. Those are found in a separate document which the committee has. Throughout this process, throughout the application process, we worked very collaboratively with Committee of Adjustment staff and planning staff, development engineering staff to ensure we've captured all of the severances and all of the easements we need to in order to facilitate orderly development and function of the site going forward. And we have reviewed the report from Engineering and Construction Services, and we are fine with the proposed conditions. So with that, we believe that the consent application has appropriate regard to the criteria that are set out in subsection 5124 of the Planning Act. The reasons for that, the detailed reasons, can be found in our application cover letter, and just given the time, I don't propose to go through all of them in detail, but I'm happy to if time permits later on. And we would request that committee approve the application. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have now or after the registered speaker speaks.
Okay, for now, panel, any questions for Ms. Lambert?
Chair, I just have one question. Did I miss you describing, thank you so much for explaining the various parts. Did you mention part 9?
Oh, so part 9 is a road widening. I'm sorry, I'm just getting some pop-ups. Part 9 is a road widening that we are agreeing to convey as a condition of the approval of this consent application.
Thank you.
Anything else, panel? No. Okay, we will invite Gary Burlikoff to speak to us. Mr. Burlikoff?
Gary, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Perfect.
Yes, Mr. Burlikoff, you wish to make a presentation regarding item number 15, Windsor Street, Portland Street, and Buckingham Street?
My only concern is that we have the building at the corner from 81 to 89 Portland Street at the corner of Buckingham and Portland Street.
Yes.
So ours is a one-story building that's been there since 1960. I have a concern with this size of a structure being built around us. I know that it's inevitable that development will occur because the area is changing, and the area is considered a regeneration area by the City of Toronto. But they're going to be building very tall buildings which will affect the sunlight coming down on the north side. They are being allowed to build very high at Newcastle. And I understand my background is in architecture, so I understand the sun angle is 45 degrees. So it comes down from Newcastle down towards Portland. I'm just wondering what kind of an effect this large building is going to have. Because the area is basically a core employment area. And I was told by our planner who we hired and our appraiser as well, that this area was still considered core employment. So is the zoning going to be changed now to multi-use? And I'm just wondering if this development is going to be allowed to occur, what are we allowed to do eventually at our building at 81 to 89 Portland, and the building behind us at 24 Buckingham, which is not ours, but we're in talks with them as well, and that's Ed Glantz at 24 Buckingham. So I guess I'm speaking on his behalf. I don't have his permission, but I'm not really asking anything else other than what will we be allowed to do in the future. Also, I have a concern right now, a sort of a small, it would be considered by a development standard as a small detail, but we just paid about $35,000 to have our parking lot repaved. And we were informed by the city that now they have to, they're going to be doing a relining of the sewer system. I'm not sure if the sewer system is under the road at Portland or between the curb and our building on Portland. But we have not been able to finish our paving. We've had to put it on hold for an entire year until we find out from the city what they're going to be doing with the sewage system. It's supposed to be relined. Nobody's contacted me as to where the sewer is, and also if this new development is going in, is it going to affect our land in front? And I understand they can dig on city property, of course, but are we going to be informed as to what exactly is going to happen during the construction process and up to it, including the infrastructure such as sewage and water supply, gas, electricity, everything else? Anyways, I guess I'm just, letting you know my comments. I didn't actually know that I was going to be allowed to speak today. I did register this, but so otherwise I would have had more prepared. I've just been listening in.
Well, that's okay. Mr. Burlikoff, the agent, Ms. Lampert, the agent, will be given an opportunity to answer your questions and comments. I'll just make a couple of comments. We don't deal with sewer issues or anything like that, so that's other departments in the city. As to the development potential of your own property, you'll have to do your own research on that. As to what's being proposed here, it is fully zoning compliant. So it's the size of the building, its height, the use. There's no variance applications, therefore that means it's zoning compliant. So the only issue we're dealing with is the consent into 3 lots.
Okay, no, I understand.
So Ms. Lampert may want to elaborate that. Is that all you have to say for now?
Well, is this, what I would like someone to clarify, is our block now considered multi-use, or because I understood it was zoned back to core employment. So obviously it's not now because it's going to be housing.
Well, I would say Ms. Lampert can, if she knows, she can tell you. If she doesn't know, and I really don't expect her to be able to tell you, you could do your own research on that.
That's fine. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So panel, any questions or comments for Mr. Burlikoff? Okay, Ms. Lampert?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Thank you, Mr. Burlikoff, for your comments. So just by way of background, I can advise that in 2022, the Ontario Land Tribunal approved something called a site and area specific policy for this sort of Mimico triangle here. I don't know, Mr. Burlikoff, if your particular site was included in it, but what that site and area specific policy did was redesignate various properties from core employment to mixed use, or other uses permitting at least some residential component to it. So I heard you say that you hired a planner, and I would urge you to speak with your planner and just ask them to provide you with with the proper designation for your site, because again, I can't tell you right now if you were included in the site and area specific policy. After that site and area specific policy, as I mentioned earlier in my comments, we did apply for a zoning bylaw amendment to permit these tall buildings on the subject lands, and that was approved by City Council back in May 2025. So as part of that zoning bylaw amendment application, there were shadow studies done and other studies done that would have taken a look at the impact on your property. City Council felt that it was okay, which is why they approved it, and that probably would have been the more appropriate form if you did have concerns. But the heights are approved now as it is. This really relates to just divvying up the subject lands to allow for certain ownership changes. In terms of your parking lot repavement due to the sewer issue, I know that the city is looking at upgrading the sewer systems, but that really doesn't have anything to do with our application before the committee. So I unfortunately don't have too much to respond to you on that. And in terms of being kept informed of what will happen during the construction process, we are currently preparing our application for site plan approval for what you see as parts 2 and 7, blocks, excuse me, blocks B and C. And as typically, one of the requirements when you receive site plan approval is that you have to provide a construction mitigation plan, and that sort of gets circulated to the neighborhood. So at that juncture, you will be able to find out what's happening in terms of construction. But again, that's not really before the committee at this point. So I think I've addressed all of Mr. Burlakoff's comments here. I don't believe, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, that they were really pertinent to the application before you today. So with that, I will make my request again, unless you have any further questions for me, to approve the application.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lampert. Panel, any questions or comments for Ms. Lampert? Okay, then let's go into committee and hear a motion.
Chair, I'm prepared to move approval of the severance application to create 3 lots and create multiple easements and rights of ways. I understand what Part 2, Part 7, and Part 9 are intended to perform, as well as the panel, I believe, and the retained parts. I move approval of the severance of extended condition and development transportation conditions of October 2nd, 2025, conditions 1, 2, and 3, which the speaker alluded to as being acceptable to them.
Thank you, Mr. Gully. Is there a seconder for Mr. Gully's motion?
Second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, your application has been approved unanimously. Thank you very much, Ms. Lampert, and thank you, Mr. Burlakoff. Our next item is 16, 2205 Lawrence Avenue West. We have an application for consent and 2 applications for variances, 1 for each part. We have Urban Forestry recommended deferral, and in a separate freestanding memo, they offered us as an alternative, if we wish, to impose their conditions 1 and 2. We have a planning condition. We have development, engineering, and transportation review conditions, and we have heritage planning conditions. And we have Jonathan Benskowski as agent, who I don't believe is here. Is he online? Mr. Benskowski?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. If you could give us a brief presentation of your consent and minor variance applications?
Yes, absolutely. So there are a couple of planning reports. The penultimate one in front of you does no longer recommend refusal. That's largely based upon the changing planning policies that have occurred recently. If we could just move down, I don't want to spend too much time on the specifics, but again, this is really subject to the SAS policy 826 that governs multiplexes within the city of Toronto. So we can continue on down. I just want to hit on a couple of the main points. This is a unique site in that it really is subject to two new planning policies. Not only does this permit fourplexes, but it also is a major street study under the HEON policies, which permits 6 units as well as 60 stories. Within my conversations with planning, we were approached and the request was made that could you make this a 6-story building due to financial constraints and really building code changes once you become an apartment building. We arrived at the proposal that is before you today. I did do a quick lot study. If you zoom out a little bit here, you can see within my lot study there are lots that are similar to what is being proposed before you today, as well as larger lots that go up to 30.48 meters. So in terms of the character of, again, we're talking about Lawrence Avenue West and Scarlet Road, which again are both considered major streets. We can see that the proposed lot frontages are in keeping with what is there within the neighborhood itself. If we could just continue on down, I do want to highlight some of the high-level, policies of the SAS. One of the variances you also will see relates to the required front yard setback. The front yard setback we're proposing, if we were to zoom in on that, you would see it is in the exact location where the existing dwelling is located today. So in terms of the streetscape being maintained along that Scarlet Road frontage, the minimum frontage the minimum front yard setback is being maintained with the proposal that is before you today. There is no change to the streetscape itself. If we could just continue on down to just quickly review some of these policies. One of the next policies of the SASP, again, this supersedes 4.1.5 because this is what's permitted under the multiplexes. So the actual policies of 4.15 don't apply to the proposal. Again, it is overridden by these SAS policies. So if we just zoom out a little bit, we can go down. Just again, some of the policies of maximizing the continuous soft landscaping. As we can see here, there is no parking proposed. The front and rear yards are entirely landscaped. Again, in terms of large units, all of the units are 3 bedrooms that are being proposed. And I think we just went right through that. Yes, we can just go down a little bit. All of the units are being proposed are 3-bedroom units, again, in keeping with the policies. In terms of entrances, the entrances are located at the front, rear, as well as the side. The only trees that are proposed to be removed are in poor condition along the street frontage. I have reviewed the urban forestry report. Again, we are happy to have the conditions proposed by urban forestry and deal with them if this is meritorious. The last one I want to review is policy 6. If we could just go down, it just deals with primary windows. So the design of both dwellings is typical in nature. The western dwelling at the corner of Lawrence and Scarlet does not have a condition that would have any type of privacy impact. What I've shown you here is the typical floor plans of the dwellings. The only primary window that is proposed is located at the front third of the house on the left, where the kitchen is. So in terms of privacy and overlook to the adjacent house to the west, it is proportioned as a primary window towards the front of the dwelling, not at the rear of the dwelling. We also would be happy with the condition of planting 1 tree in the rear yard of each property. And as you can see, planning is now okay with the proposal, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee might have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Benskowski. Panel, any questions or comments for Mr. Benskowski?
Chair, I just one confirmation. Jonathan, you've gone over development engineering conditions, and you don't have any issues with the 8 conditions and the winding being requested, correct?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Gully, no, I also have no issue with the privacy screen proposed by planning.
Okay. Do you have any comments on Heritage and their report?
You know, I'm hesitant to comment on Heritage's reports because I think largely they're advisory in nature. This is not listed or designated. I'd be happy to deal with Heritage.
So you're aware of it? You're aware of the report, right?
Correct.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Any other questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Okay, then let's go into committee for discussion if we need it, or a motion.
So Chair, I'm prepared to speak on this item. I believe that this is a good location at the intersection of Lawrence and Scarlet Road for a proposal of this type. I believe it's desirable. I believe that it meets the 4 tests under the Act. And I believe that this is the right forum to come and create 2 lots. So I'm going to move approval subject to standard conditions for the consent, and move approval for any variances required, subject to planning conditions of, subject to planning conditions of October the 29th, and heritage and development engineering. Urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gully. Is there a seconder for Mr. Gully's motion?
I will second that, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Popovic. All in favor? Okay, the application for consent and the applications for minor variance both have been approved. Thank you, Mr. Benskowski. Our next item is number 17, 136 Lambton Avenue. We have urban forestry condition, recommendation for refusal. And in the alternative, conditions 1 and 3 per one correspondence, and condition 2 per another piece of correspondence. So our practice is usually, if we move approval of this application, we would just state subject to urban forestry conditions, and staff will sort out exactly which ones are applicable. We have revised applications for the consent and the variances. We have a planning condition, development, engineering, and transportation review conditions, a support petition, and quite a bit of back and forth with actually the development, engineering, transportation review. We have, in our additional material, we have an email from them. We have the agent's response to them. So we definitely need a presentation on this one. And I believe we have Ian, is it Fleet?
Flett, sir.
Fleck. Okay, Mr. Fleck.
Good morning.
Please present your proposed consent and minor variances to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members of the committee. I did want to cover off, and perhaps it would be the right place to begin, that we had sent a set of revisions that came from the conversations we had with community planning. In that set of revisions, I noted that there's one revision that is missing, and that is to variance number 5. My client had originally asked for 11.53 meters on each lot as a minor variance for the fourplex, and that's reduced to 11.3 as part of the conversation with community planning. And I apologize that that didn't make it into the correspondence.
Okay, let's just stop there and consider whether or not we can proceed. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't get. Can you please repeat?
I'm happy to. Yeah. So variance number 5 in the list of revised conditions initially sought 11.53 height on the fourplexes. Pursuant to discussions with community planning, that was reduced to 11.3. I would indicate that this is a reduction in the amplitude of the variance, and would hope that the committee would be willing to proceed on that basis.
Okay, we based our revisions on the revised waiver, and that wasn't indicated on the revised waiver.
Right. I understand that. The committee is empowered to consider variances.
I know, but you said you made a revision, but we didn't have that revision.
Oh, I understand. Yes. No, and I'm bringing this to the committee's attention now. I would indicate that, again, this is a reduction in the amplitude and a reduction in height. I think that 23 centimeter difference.
So you're 0.03 meters better than you've stated.
0.23 meters better than we stated.
0.23 meters.
0.23 meters, yeah.
So are we okay, and then it's better than the notice says? We'll proceed? Okay, let's carry on.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, I'll
and-
give you
and
another
members.
30 seconds. Oh, you stopped the clock anyway. Okay.
All right, lucky me. Sir, we have before you a proposal to a consent to sever 136 Lambton Avenue into 2 equal parcels with associated variances to permit a pair of semi-detached, purpose-built rental multiplexes, 4 family-sized units per side in the multiplexes, and 2-story rental garden suites at the rear of each lot. So that'll be a total of 10 new units available for families. It would, I would note that having visited this area, this is an amenity-rich neighborhood with many opportunities for new families to enjoy those. Let me begin with the consent criterias, and then I'm going to build to the minor variance, the minor variances we're seeking, and then deal with the conditions. Sir, I'm hoping that this will fall into what you refer to as a natural severance. This is already the widest lot on the street, and in our submission to you that meets all the criteria that would be applicable under Section 5124 of the Planning Act. It is suitable to the land because both parcels are fully serviced and zoned RM, which already contemplates multiplexes and garden suites. It conforms with policies, and specifically OPA 649 and OPA 554 concerning multiplexes and garden suites, and represents a gentle intensification of the neighborhoods. The dimensions and the shapes of each lot will have a 6.48 meter frontage and 258 meter square area. You'll note in the correspondence you would have received from Mr. Chen, the planner on this matter, that there are a number of sites along Lambton that are equivalent or even less than what we're seeking here in terms of both frontage and area. In fact, the frontages range from 3.8 meters to 14 meters. This is truly one of those eclectic neighborhoods where there's a variety of different patterns in the area. We would note that community planning confirmed that the proposed lot pattern is consistent with the prevailing fabric. The adequacy of services is covered, and we will discuss that as part of the conditions you received from ECS. And we would submit to you, to the committee, that this application creates homes in a desirable area with parks, a school up the street on Lambton. If you had a chance to go up to Astoria Avenue to the north, there's a beautiful park fronting there. Sought after amenities, this is in the public interest to approve this severance in our respectful submission. Now, in respect of the variances, I listened to one of your previous hearings, and I noticed that it's helpful sometimes to group variances so that we can get our heads around them. In total, we're asking for 8 variances per lot. The lot creation dimensions are to ask first from a 12 meter down to a 6.48 meter, and from 360 meters square to 258. So that's the lot creation dimensions that we're asking for variances. In terms of the built form and siting, we're asking for a front yard setback variance of 4.5 meters, whereas 8.73 would be required, and side yard setback variances of 1.2, whereas you would have 1.5. I would go through, but I noticed that my time, so perhaps through questions I can answer any others. But I would also provide a group of the garden suite variances, which are the angular planes measured from each side of the garden suite would require variances. And then landscaping permeability, we were able to increase the amount we had initially asked for and brought it up to 33.2% of rear yard soft landscaping, whereas 50% is the requirement. We would indicate that community planning is aware, and our client does commit to putting permeable surfaces in as many places as possible, so that even if it is not qualified as soft landscaping under the definition of the bylaw, that surface will be permeable. And an example of that is below the exterior staircase to the rear. At the very bottom on the ground will be a permeable surface rather than hard landscaping. Sir, and members of the committee, I would suggest that these variances meet the 4 tests. The site is designated neighborhoods. The intent of the zoning bylaw is reached because of the RM zoning. It is a desirable and appropriate use of the land because it replaces a detached house. If you had a chance to visit the site, you'd see that it's a detached house with a large concrete pad to the side. There are no correspondence to you objecting to this application. And in fact, our clients visited a number of their neighbors and were met either with enthusiasm or indifference, but no objection to this application. My time's going to run out before I can address the ECS
Yeah, your time
conditions.
just ran out.
Yes, it did. But I would like to address the ECS conditions. And I wonder if you might interpret and indulge me on this, only because this is important. And we are looking at 3 applications. And I suppose one might say that.
Okay, we'll give you a little bit of time.
I appreciate that. Sir, you will have received correspondence from me asking for 3 conditions different than what came from ECS. Mr. Gooley had a conversation in an earlier matter where he said, do you trust city staff? Do you trust staff to do what they're going to do? And I can say that in this situation, my client has had very fruitful conversations with ECS. And as a result, rather than seeking the conditions that we originally sought through my correspondence to the committee, we no longer want to seek those and agree to the conditions that are sought by ECS, addressing any flooding and servicing issues that they want just investigated, not any refusal in terms of there. We absolutely consent to the condition that community planning has suggested, and in addition to that, I noticed that while urban forestry has recommended refusal of the application, there is no construction within the TPZ from our site plan, and so the urban forestry has provided an alternate condition for you to consider if you don't refuse this application.
Okay,
We urge
you're
you
a
to.
minute and a half over, sir.
I appreciate
Okay.
that very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions for Mr. Fleck or comments?
So just confirmation, you're okay with planning condition October the 30th, and you're also accepting development engineering conditions September the 11th, and urban forestry condition 1.
That's correct, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think we can now, there's no more speakers, okay. So we can go into committee for discussion if we require it, or a motion. And if the motion is to approve, remember that we have to adjust variance 5 for both variance applications. Well,
No, he
I
made the
guess-
request to change it.
yeah, he's requested, so it would be reduced. I'm going to come out of committee for 10 seconds. We need to, no, you can stay there. You just have to nod. You wish us to reduce the proposed dwelling height to 11.3 meters? That's for both. Okay, thank you. So,
No, you go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to move the application for severance. There's no question in my mind that this is proper forum to be dealing with severance of this nature at the subject location. Move approval subject to standard conditions. Move approval to the variances being requested with the revision as has suggested by the applicant on height with respect to 11.3. It should reflect the new height of 11.3. And also subject to development and engineering conditions September the 11th, planning condition October the 30th, urban forestry condition number 1. So approval of the consent under standard conditions, approval of the variances with those 3 conditions.
can I, Mr. Gully, if I can suggest a friendly amendment? Urban Forestry in one piece of correspondence requested conditions 1 and 3, and in another piece of correspondence recommended condition 2. Would you mind just stating subject to urban forestry conditions?
No problem. Subject
Okay.
to urban forestry
I think
conditions.
our practice has
covers
been to
it.
do that in case of a conflict, and staff will sort it out.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion table then to approve subject to conditions. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that with that revision.
Thank you, Ms. Ruddock. All in favor? Application approved. Thank you, Mr. Fleck. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Moving on to item 18, 150 Simpson Avenue. This is an application for consent and 2 applications for minor variance, 1 for each of the proposed lots. We have urban forestry conditions 1, 2, and 3. Development, Engineering, and Transportation Review Conditions. Planning is okay, and we have a Metro Links advisory. Sal Crimmy is the agent, and I think maybe because this is a consent and a variance, we should allow Mr. Crimmy to make a brief presentation, although I guess in my opinion, it is pretty straightforward.
Good afternoon.
Be the only
through
one.
you.
So you have license, should you wish, to make a very brief presentation because your application is very clear and straightforward. But please
Through
tell us
you.
what you think is essential for us to understand.
Firstly, good afternoon through you, Mr. Chair, to yourself and committee members, committee staff. It is one that we present proudly, especially based on the other consents we heard from today. The impetus for the application was to create an additional dwelling unit, single-family detached house, which is a primary goal of both the City of Toronto, province, and federal government, as we all know, but to do so in a respectful and palatable manner. And that is the application that is before you. The variances are digestible in the sense that they meet common ground between modern day development trends and desires by buyers, as well as the requirements of the zoning bylaw. And it goes down to the architectural style as well for both houses, which not only fit with the surrounding community fabric, but are also consistent with the development trends of this neighborhood over the past 10 years. And I think I'd like to open it up to the committee if there are any questions with regards to the variances or the either new lots that are created. And I think on that note as well, the new lots created are very consistent with the prevailing lot characteristics of both the immediate and greater community surrounding 150 Simpson Avenue. And yes, I think I'd like to open it up to the committee
Sure.
through you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Crimmy. We'll do that. I'll just ask you the first question. You're okay with the conditions requested by Urban Forestry, Development, Engineering, and Transportation Review? Yeah, that's it. You're familiar with and okay with them?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, they're standard conditions and pertinent to an application of this nature.
Perfect, okay. Panel, any other questions or comments for Mr. Crimmy? Then let's have a motion. Or discussion if we need it.
No one else is racing to do it.
No one wants to make a motion?
Chair, I'll make a motion. Chair, I have carefully reviewed the application for consent for 150 Simpson Avenue. I believe the severance being requested is appropriate at the subject location. This is proper forum to be looking at a severance. Plan of subdivision obviously is not required. I move approval of the consent as subject to standard conditions. Also approval of the requested variances as subject to development engineering conditions of September the 12th and urban forestry conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Gully. Is there a seconder for Mr. Gully's motion? Ms. Alderson, thank you very much. All in favor? That application is approved unanimously. Our final application of the day is number 19, 557 Dixon Road. This application was deferred on June 26th of this year to provide an opportunity for the applicant to further examine the site and surrounding context. I wasn't at that hearing, so I don't really understand that, but we have an MTO, Ministry of Transportation Advisory, and a recommendation from Community Planning to either refuse the application or approve for a 3-year time period. So, the agent is Claudio Bruto. Mr. Bruto?
Start my presentation at this time, if the clerk could assist. Mr. Chair and members of the committee, my name is Claudio Bruto. We represent the tenant at 557 Dixon Road, Unit 106. The tenant, our client, is operating a barber shop, a personal services shop, and we asked for deferral because we wanted to prepare a planning justification report and really paint the picture for what is happening here. And I'll give you my position in terms of whether it meets the 4 tests or not. We have read the staff report, but I do want to bring to light what I think is a very compelling argument. And that is for a young man who has started a barber shop in, well, it is an industrial area. This is actually a commercial building, a 1-story commercial building that houses a number of similar type of offerings in the commercial vein. So felt really, really strongly about what he's done here, and hopefully you'll be able to see your way through to an approval, or at the very least a 3-year period as suggested by the staff. So with that, I'll ask for the next slide. So the official plan and zoning bylaw, they are in front of you. The site is located at on Dixon Road, very near to the 401. The official plan, the employment area, protects land for long-term economic uses. It supports diverse economic base and strong business tax base. The zoning is E in bylaw 569/2013. It provides for a wide range of employment and industrial uses, but it does not permit personal services shop, which is the hairstyling or hair cutting place. But interestingly enough, it does permit a pet grooming operation within the same zone. So I find it a little bit of a disconnect there. And I think nobody could have foreseen that maybe this type of use could actually be accommodated in this type of building. So I just want to put that out there for you to think about. It also is in the special policy area, Pearson Airport, which restricts residential and sensitive uses, which we are not. This is not a sensitive use. We move on the slides, please. Thank you. Just wanted to give you a snapshot of the building inside. He's spent a lot of money improving it. No structural changes, but definitely a leading edge type of personal services. And he employs 10 people in 1,000 square feet. So that's a very large, when you look at it on a per hectare basis, it's almost 1,000 jobs per hectare, which is obviously more than one would anticipate in an employment area. So I wanted to bring that fact to your attention, that in fact he has created jobs, but for this nuance that a personal service shop definition doesn't permit hairstyling, but it does permit dog grooming or pet grooming. Again, we wanted to highlight that for you so you can understand. Now the building is interesting itself. It is a commercial building. It has never functioned as a factory or anything of that nature. You can see the picture on the left bottom corner that's an internal hallway that allows access to some internal offices that are part of this particular building. Next slide, please. This is the external pictures that we took after the first meeting, and you can see the type of uses that are here. There isn't a singular industrial user on this particular site. There's a driving school, there's a vaping shop, there's a St. Louis restaurant. So that's the type of users that you see throughout this building. And many of the units are small. They're 1,000 feet, 1,200 feet. Maybe the restaurant is St. Louis is a little bit larger. So it fits within the context of this particular building. And in the future, should the area redevelop, the approval of my client's operation isn't necessarily going to stand in the way of redevelopment of the site for a typical industrial use that you might find in this particular area. So just wanted to explore with you the uniqueness of the property, both inside, outside, and with respect to the use of the offerings that he provides to the community and the jobs, the 10 jobs. Next slides. So this is compatibility with the site. So it's definitely compatible. I mentioned restaurants, offices.
Sir, you only have 10 seconds left.
Okay, I'll go on and indicate to you, you have my report. It meets all of the 4 tests, minor in nature, desirable, and meets the intent of the zoning bylaw and the OP. So I'm really reaching out to you to say, you know, my client is providing jobs. He's a young man. He's got a good business moving forward. If he had to come back in 3 years, it would cost him $100,000 just to make the application. So there's a lot of hardship there. And I know the committee will be open-minded in its discussion, hopefully its decision. It's really all I can say. If I had more time, I would, but I think you have the gist of why I'm here today and what we are seeking from your good selves.
Okay, thank you very much. I've got a question for you. I don't think you commented on the city's
Yes, he did. Just at the end.
comment that, first of all, to refuse or in the alternative, approve it for a limited 3-year time period. The reason I say that, of course, is your lands are designated core employment area in the official plan, and personal service shops are not permitted in that designation. What's your thoughts or feelings about a 3-year time period? Should we?
Yeah, I would accept a 3-year time period, Mr. Chair, and I guess we can revisit it in 3 years.
Yeah, they're suggesting the best way to deal with this is official plan amendment and a zoning bylaw amendment. So I would urge you to, even if we were to approve this today for 3 years, I would get right on that official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment process, because it does take time.
It does take time, and if that's the route that you decide on, I would respect
So
that.
if your client has long-term expectations to conduct this business here, I would recommend that they get right on that.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He definitely does, and I do understand the planning implications. I just brought to you some example about the core employment. I say it doesn't detract from it, because if the owner of the building, whom I'm also familiar with, decides to evict everybody and create an employment, a factory or warehouse, whatever, this application wouldn't stand in the way of that. But to your point, if you see fit to the 3-year extension, and I would convey that message to him to get right on it, because it does take time.
Okay.
And he'll have to determine if there's a cost benefit there for him, right? Because applications are expensive.
Absolutely.
I have a question.
Yeah, any other questions?
So yes, so you actually mentioned the landlord, and so that brings me to the issue of the lease. Do you happen to know when the lease is up?
That's a great question. And I don't want to sit here and tell you that I know exactly. I can get back to you on that.
Because we sometimes tie the extension of the permission into the lease period, and that's why I'm asking you that question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm sorry I don't have the answer right now, but if that's a condition that you want to place on, let's assume that it's 3 years or the length of the lease, maybe that covers it off.
The committee, without having that
We
information,
can't use that.
We couldn't do that.
No.
Okay.
Because it looks to me like he's made a considerable investment on the interior of the barber shop, and as you say, he does employ 10 people. So I was prepared to actually move for 5 years, which is a little bit more than community planning wants, but I think 5 years, based on everything you've told us today, I think 5 years would be a reasonable amount of time, and would certainly give you time to apply for the zoning bylaw amendment.
May I respond to that? Perhaps it's out of order and I can wait my turn.
No, I think you can respond to it. I'm just.
I think 5 years is very reasonable, and I say this from an economic standpoint. If it is expensive for him to get into his official plan amendment and zoning and the cost of that, then it gets amortized over a 5-year period. perhaps it makes it easier for him to be able to recover his costs and get on with his business. So I would,
Yeah, like you're gonna need some time to consult with your neighbors. You know, you pointed out there are a number of non-core employment uses in that building.
yeah.
Talk to the landlord, you know, yeah, you're gonna need some time.
I was also a little swayed by the fact that there was a dog grooming.
Yeah. Dogs, yes, people, no?
Yeah, it doesn't, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So if no one else has any questions or comments, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Go.
Since I'm the BIA lady. I feel that this application is worthy of approval for 5 years and move for approval with no other conditions.
Chair, I'll second that.
All in favor? That's approved unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bruto, and good luck.
Very grateful to the committee. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Take care.
Before we move to adjourn, do we have any other business? I don't see anything listed here. Okay, I will invite then a motion to adjourn.
Oh, my favorite motion of the
Ms.
day
Alderson?
at 3:38 p.m.,
All
which
in
is
favor?
longer than we thought.
We are adjourned at 3:38 p.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, staff, meeting participants, panelists.
I know, but at least we're leaving and it's still